Hello, good to be with you today. We are in Advent, and we have been in Advent. We just are getting started a week later. So it's great for you to be with us as we do that. So we're going to be in Matthew chapter 9, verses 9 through 17. So if you are watching this and you're at a place to be able to get your Bible out, go ahead and do that. And we are looking at just this really wonderful understanding of how God interacts with us because of who He is. And so as we begin the Advent season, I really hope that these next few weeks literally change you in many ways as you encounter God in maybe a brand new way. Understanding who He is, what He's done, what He's doing today. And I think the thing for us all to keep in mind is God is still working. God hasn't left us. In fact, Advent is really the anticipation of God's arrival in the baby Jesus. And so as we're all dealing with feelings of fear and anxiety and isolation and loneliness and sadness because, we're being told to just stay away from people just to get this pandemic thing done, really everything's different now, and everything will always be different now. So I was just thinking about something that went with that. Everything's different now, and so I found this song by Don Henley. And for those of you that are a little younger, Don Henley was one of the band members in the Eagles. So if you don't know who the Eagles are, I can't help you. But he has a song that he wrote, and this is just the end of the song, and it says this: "Will you stand here in this fire with me? Are you ready for another life? So I bit that bullet, I took that vow, and everything is different now." And he's talking about finding the love of his life, but I'm using those words for us to really understand that, yes, everything's different now, but it's God talking to us going, look, I'm with you. I've got you. I'll walk you through this. And so, this whole thing, I miss restaurants. I miss eating meals with friends. We do a lot of eating at this time of year. And so in this text that we're going to look at, we see Jesus having meals. He's eating with his friends. And it's an important part of his message. In fact, it's an important part of how he did his life. And we observe a lot where Jesus is around a table eating with family and friends. And so I really am looking forward, again, to eating in a restaurant without a mask, without being distanced from people, when there's me and one other person in the restaurant, but a whole bunch of us. Having people in my home, I'm sure you say the same thing, enjoying the proximity of friends. And so this image that, again, in this text, and I'll read it here in a minute, there's this image of new and old wineskins and what it means. And it's Jesus bringing this new life into us that really bursts all of these old categories. And I like this because I think what's happening for all of us is we're being forced into this new way of looking at the world and the new way of living. And Jesus has been in this business forever. So he's coming in saying, look, I can bring about this all kinds of newness, and it's going to blow up all of your old categories in a really good way. And so it should beg the question, what is this newness of life that Jesus brings? Well, the question for us is whether we are living in this newness ourselves or whether we keep desiring to get back to the old one where we feel more at home. And the truth is we really can't because everything's different now. We can't go back to the old way. Everything's going to be different. The way we get together, the way we do life, the way we work, everything is different now. And so let's look at a couple of things. And let me just read some of this text to you. It's in Matthew chapter 9. And it goes like this: as Jesus was walking along, he saw a man called Matthew sitting at a tax booth. And he said to him, "Follow me." And Matthew just got up and followed him. And as he sat at dinner in the house, many tax collectors and sinners came and were sitting with him and his disciples. So it's Jesus and his disciples are in this house full of people that really some of the church people watching didn't think that they should be eating with them. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to his disciples, "Why does your teacher eat with tax collectors and sinners?" But when Jesus heard this, he said, "Those who are well have no need for a physician, but those who are sick. Go and learn what this means. I desire mercy, not sacrifice, for I have come to call not the righteous, but sinners. And so what Jesus is telling us is there's a whole new priority in our life. And so everyone who loves God is called according to God's purpose. So to be called means you are no longer in control. And I think the lesson that we're getting right now with this pandemic is we are not in control. There is no way to control this. There are different rules that we are going to have to live by, and we have to obey them. And so that's interesting. So keep that in mind. And so this guy, Matthew, is called. He leaves his tax collecting booth, and his life is forever changed. Everything's different for him now. The word arose in this text is resurrection language. So the call to follow Jesus was the new life Matthew had been looking for. It changed instantaneously for him. And maybe God's doing that for you and me right now, where God's calling us to him, leaving the old behind because we can't go back to it. And he's calling us forward and calling us into this new way of living that really brings the life that we want. And so we have to be careful not to overemphasize the details of any one particular call, any call experience. Some are sudden, some are indirect, some are process-oriented. In other words, some of us are like, yep, I'm in. Others of us are all, I need to think about that. And others of us, it takes a mulling, a journey, and that's fine. There is no one normative way God calls people to himself. So there's a theme. What does it mean to be called? Well, real change, real new life happens with a call. Well, how do you know? Well, when you start to feel that Jesus has to be central in your life, that your relationship has been on the fringe, and now it must be worked into your heart. Giving him control and making him the center becomes your new priority. And I don't know about you, but for me, this has been a lot of my process during this time where, maybe you're thinking, well, I'm supposed to be the godly guy and reading the Bible and praying, and I'm here to tell you, no. I've had to really work that in more and more into my life, and having this time to be able to really realize that Jesus is my center has really driven me and called me to get up earlier in the morning and take the time to seek God through the scriptures and pray and sense his spirit. So I think the timer for all of us is going off in the sense that Jesus must be our priority. So when Jesus calls, our life is no longer under our control. It may change everything for you in this whole new world. So there's that. There's this new priority. Well, there's also this new proximity. When the Pharisees were concerned, back to our text, their concern was contamination. Interesting, right? Isn't that our concern too? Contamination happens through proximity. You've got a social distance. When you get in proximity of people that have the virus, you're going to get sick. And so in a spiritual understanding, in a spiritual context, the Pharisees were all concerned that this holy man, Jesus, was in the proximity of people that could infect him with their sin, if you will. So, our whole life is all about keeping a safe proximity. Social distancing is a phrase that's brand new to our vocabulary. We know it and we hate it. This is the issue. When we're in the proximity of the infected, we will be infected also. Well, the religious leaders thought that worked morally and spiritually as well. By Jesus eating with those who were cheaters, liars, and impure, they thought he was going to become just like them. That infection was going to, with that power was going to infect him. Jesus comes along and he smashes all their laws of cleanliness. And this shocked and infuriated the religious people. So what does Jesus say about this? Well, he said, look, I'm not here for the healthy people. I'm here for the sick people. Jesus says, I'm the great physician. I'm the healer. And when we really examine ourselves, we will see quite clearly that we do have some sicknesses. We do have anger episodes, and we have these moments of anxiety where we are just completely forgetting that God is a peacemaker for us or peace to us. We become divided. We feel superior. We feel inferior. And Jesus says, look, I'm the doctor for your soul. I'm here to heal you. I think To take that in is so exciting. It's just amazing to think about. But to realize what he is saying in the context of this discussion about contamination is fascinating. So if a doctor wants to help a person with COVID, she just can't jump in and help risk getting COVID. She has to put on all of her PE. She has to do all this ritual to be able to go and treat a person that's sick. And this is exactly the Pharisees' argument. But Jesus doesn't do that. Jesus goes in, no mask, no gloves, and he's there to heal. He's not reckless. He's not ruthless. He's not trying to throw an attitude at them. Jesus is saying, look, I'm the great healer. I'm the physician. I know exactly what to do. And that infection can infect me. All of religion says to get to heaven, you've got to be good. Don't get contaminated. And Jesus is saying, anything I touch cannot make me unclean. Anyone that I touch, anyone I connect with, anyone I have a relationship with, no matter how contaminated, no matter what you've done, no matter how ashamed you may feel about yourself, no matter how guilty, Jesus makes us instantly clean. It should not be a secret. It should be an experience that we have. If you're listening to this today, I take the risk. Make yourself vulnerable. Put yourself out there. And let this Jesus do his work in your soul. So that's why when we come into relationship with Jesus, it changes the way we relate to the world. Interestingly enough, in verse 10, I can imagine the disciples nervously attending. I mean, they're all religious guys. They grew up in the religious scene. And Jesus is saying, hey, I'm going to go eat with this tax collector guy you guys are coming with. Okay, what are people going to say, right? Religion creates a fragile holiness, and that's exactly what those guys were experiencing. We work so hard trying to perform and earn our self-worth and trying to feel good about ourselves, and we're never sure if we're good enough or if we did it right, and there's this insecurity. So we try our best to stay away from the contamination. And Jesus says, you become clean because of me, and that gives you an industrial strength you normally wouldn't have. It gives you this industrial strength self-image. You can move out into the world with the same non-consenting confidence, and you won't look down your nose at anybody. Why? Because you already know that you're contaminated, and you already know that you're healed. So how do we get the power to do that? Great question. How do we get the power to hang with people we normally would want nothing to do with? And in our divided society, thinking of being with somebody on the other side of the political spectrum just is like, oh my gosh, those people make me so mad. Well, Jesus is saying, look, to you, they're infected. They're contaminated with a political ideology that you don't agree with. Go to them. Go to them. Go have a meal with them, social distancing. Zoom them, text them, call them. This is your job, so to speak. So the mark that you have had contact with Jesus is mercy, not sacrifice. So what does that mean? Well, if you want to know you are connecting with God, don't measure it by your volunteer hours or your dollars to charity. It's all about mercy. Mercy means love, service, and compassion to people who are not like you. It means counting conversations, exactly what I just said. Text a neighbor, text a friend, text somebody you haven't talked to in a long time or you haven't seen. Maybe somebody you know voted for the person that you didn't vote for. Call them up. Ask them how they're doing. Ask them how they're feeling about stuff. No matter religion, irreligion, liberal, conservative, Jesus turns this on its ear. So where do we get the power to live like this? Well, finally, we have a new power. And here's where we get it. Jesus doesn't want relationship with you in a way a king relates to his subjects. He wants a relation with you so permanent, so intimate, that it's analogous to marriage. As a recipient of that love and grace, you can no longer have a line between the good and the bad. No more the open-minded or are in and the narrow-minded are out, or vice versa, or the moral people are in, the relativists are out. The scriptures tell us if there is a line, it's the humble. Those who know they are hypocrites, they are in. And it's the proud, the snarky that are out. Now, you don't have to go into the world with this fragile, self-achieved self-image, you move out into the world knowing you are desired, that you're wanted by your God. And this is what Christmas is all about. This is what we're anticipating. This is what we're waiting for with the birth of Jesus. God isn't distantly giving us a code of rules that says, if you're very, very good, I'll bring you presents. You will become clean and you can escape this world and come live with me and play PS5 forever. Instead, Christmas is about God coming down into this contaminated world, taking on a body and a human nature and infecting us with his life. I love what C.S. Lewis says in Mere Christianity. He calls it the good infection, and he explains Christmas perfectly. The Lord of the universe, says C.S. Lewis, came into this world and became human in order to spread to humans the kind of life he has, but what I call a good infection. Good things as well as bad are caught by an infection. Christmas is about the way he comes close, proximity, then gives you the power to live that pattern out in your life and the rest of the world. So maybe you're in process. Maybe you've joined us week after week in your living room or on your iPad before you're going to go to bed so you can fall asleep easier listening to my voice. And maybe you're learning more and more and more about following Jesus and you're still trying to get your arms and your brain around it. Maybe you're still afraid to take off your mask, so to speak, and let the good infection get into your soul. Christianity is for thinking people. It just doesn't hit you and you say, oh, I believe. Jesus is always saying to us, go think about it. Go ponder this. Go meditate on this. I know you have your doubts. Mull it over. For those of you who are living out the good news of Jesus, I want you to keep this in mind. When we talk about how we don't have to be anxious or trying so hard to be acceptable, that there is a way to get close to the one who did all of this to get close to you. So if you're a believer and you're listening to this and you're like, well, I still feel anxious. I'm still scared. I'm still fearful. Christmas is about Jesus coming close to you and me and pushing the fear and anxiety out because he is peace. He is love. He is joy. He is good news. So it's not the anxious striving. It's the striving to get close to Jesus. The God of the universe became a fussy little baby to get close to you. Opened himself up to the contamination of this world. So what are you doing to get close to him? Think of anything that is keeping you from getting close to him and get it out of the way. When you see what he did to get close to you, do anything, pay any price to get close to him. It will be nothing what it cost him to get close to you. So I urge you for Christmas, fight, claw, love your way to get close to Jesus. Though everything is different, Jesus is still the same today, yesterday, and forever. And that's the meaning of Christmas. And man, I wish we were all here together to pray together and shake hands and high five and hug and do all those things. But you know what? There's people around you maybe right now. Or maybe there's somebody you need to call right now and just be in proximity with them. And there's someone who's in proximity with you all the time. And that's Jesus by his Spirit is with you. He's here. He said he would never leave us nor forsake us. So for Christmas, open up and let the contamination of Christ fill you to healing. Jesus, thank you so much for this time. And I pray, Lord, for everybody listening, that God, they would just let the love of God infect them. That God, it would change them, it would move them, it would motivate them. And God, it would be the best Christmas gift they could ever get. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, please go to our website. There's all kinds of things for you to read and look at. There's our giving portal. There's ways to be involved with our small groups. There's, if you're new or a guest with us, there's a brand new guest card you could fill out for us. That would be great so we could be in touch with you, or send us a prayer request. We love you. I'm going to say this week after week, Merry Christmas. It's coming, so I'm going to say it, and I already listened to Christmas music. And have a fantastic day. Thank you very much.